In the 1940s of the last century, when the war turned disadvantageous for Japan, their fleets could no longer move freely on the Pacific Ocean as before. The commander-in-chief of the Japanese Combined Fleet, Admiral Yamamoto, not long after shocking the world with the catastrophic Pearl Harbor campaign in December 1941, decided to continue building one of the boldest plans of his life, something that even the most daring futurists of that time didn't dare to think about. That was to attack New York City, Washington, D.C., and other major American cities, as well as destroy the Panama Canal. On January 13, 1942, at Navy headquarters, Yamamoto demanded at all costs the construction of a secret generation of submarines never seen before, with the capability to make 3 trips around the west coast of America or 1 trip around the world without refueling, and especially with the ability to carry at least 2 bombers equipped with torpedoes or 800 kilos of bombs. With a tremendous work intensity just over 2 months later, on March 17, 1942, the preliminary design was completed. This was the notorious submarine class, the Sen Toku I-400, and it was truly known as the largest submarine ever built, holding the #1 position until the 1960s, when the Soviet Union and America developed new generations of submarines carrying ballistic missiles. The Japanese planned to build up to 18 I-400 super submarines, starting from January 18, 1943, at the shipyard in Kura, Hiroshima. Its technical specifications were as follows. Displacement when submerged was 660 tons length, 122 ms beam, 12 ms draft, 7 mem. German submarines at that time were also among the largest in the world. However, they were truly tiny when the I-400 submarine class was born. This Japanese super submarine was nearly twice the size of the average Nazi German submarines. It included 4 diesel engines, each engine providing 250 horsepower when surfaced, 2 electric motors, each providing 100 horsepower when submerged. Maximum speed achieved was 35 km/h when surfaced and 12 km/h when submerged. It could dive to depths of over 100 ms. The I-400 could travel a range of up to 69,500 km at a speed of 26 km/h. The circumference of the Earth is about 40,000 km. This allowed it to travel more than 1.5 times around the Earth without refueling. Therefore, the Japanese super submarine could reach the United States as easily as a leisurely trip. The crew of the ship was 144 people. The I-400's weapons included 3 Aichi M6A1 Saran floatplanes, 8 torpedo tubes with 515 Submarine caliber at the front, 1 cannon with 104mm caliber and 40 rounds with a range of up to 15 km, 3 triple barrel cannons, and 1 single barrel cannon, both with 25mm caliber. In addition to direct combat with the enemy, due to being equipped with torpedoes and a series of large caliber cannons, the I-400 could also move at a safe distance, launch fighter planes, and dive to avoid detection. Aircraft returning after bombing raids would have to land on the water surface before moving back into the submarine. The Aichi M6A1 Saran floatplanes could each carry up to 850 kilograms of bombs, fly 188 kilometers at a speed of 474 km/h at an altitude of 5,200 ms. The existence of this aircraft was completely unknown to Allied intelligence. The Saran's wings could fold back, and the horizontal and vertical tail of the aircraft could also fold down to reduce its size to fit in the storage compartment. In combat-ready state, the aircraft had a length of 11.6 ms and a wingspan of 12.2 ms. A team of 4 people would prepare 3 aircraft in about 45 minutes. The aircraft would take off on a 37-meter-long launch catapult mounted on the ship's deck with a crew of 2 people for each aircraft. However, a shocking event occurred. After major strategic failures at Midway, and Guadalcanal, Yamamoto clearly saw that the war's outcome would be tragic for Japan, something he had predicted nearly 2 years earlier. However, he still tried to fight to the end by implementing Plan 1, targeting American forces at Guadalcanal. On April 7th, Yamamoto mobilized all the aircraft of the fleet, conducting 4 fierce attack waves on American bases at Guadalcanal. The attacks achieved some results, but American forces there remained very powerful. Yamamoto decided to go on an inspection tour of 3 islands near Guadalcanal to boost morale. However, many generals strongly objected because such an inspection was extremely dangerous, but ultimately, the admiral was determined to go. Unfortunately for the Japanese, just like at Midway, the Americans had decoded the secret message about Yamamoto's inspection plan. The US military organized an ambush with a squadron of 18 P-38 Lightning fighters shooting down Yamamoto's aircraft in an unequal battle on April 18, 1943, causing him to die in action. Also, for this reason, the aircraft carrier Submarine project was reduced from 18 ships to 9 ships, then 5 ships, and finally only 3 ships were completed. I-400, built at Kure, I-401, and I-402, built at Sasebo. The plan to suddenly bomb New York, Washington, D.C. and several other American cities was also cancelled because attacking directly on American soil was very risky. In August 1943, Commander Yasuo Fujimori decided to concentrate the attack on the Panama Canal, scheduled to take place in 1945, to cut off supply sources for the US Navy in the Pacific for at least 6 months. To increase the level of damage to the enemy, Fujimori requested that 2 submarines being built in Kobe, including I-13 and I-14, be modified so that each could carry 2 M6A1 Siran aircraft, and the 2 super submarines already ready for combat I-400 and I-401, each carrying 3 aircraft, raised the total number of aircraft for the campaign to 10. The route was set to head straight west, crossing the Indian Ocean, rounding the southern tip of Africa, and attacking the Gatun locks of the canal from the east. A direct and surprise attack would catch the Americans off guard, unable to defend effectively. At a position about 180 kilometers from the target, the M6A1 Siran aircraft would be launched at 3 a.m., flying at an altitude of 4,000 pelos, approaching the target to attack at dawn. After a series of preparations around April 1945, Captain Arizumi, who was assigned to command the campaign, decided that they must attack kamikaze style rather than dropping bombs. On June 5, 1945, all 4 submarines mentioned above began traveling to a secret location in Japan, where a model of the Panama Canal locks was erected in wood at actual size. The following evening, rehearsal began, and by June the 20th, all preparations for the attack plan were complete, and the most ambitious campaign was ready to depart. This battle was no different from a one-way ticket, and clearly no pilot thought they would return after the attack. This plan was also called Toko. All pilots volunteered to sacrifice for their country, similar to the kamikaze campaign attack method. Each pilot carried a short Toko sword, a symbol of noble sacrifice. However, right at that time, Okinawa fell. The Japanese were defeated here after 82 days of fight-to-the-death combat from March 1945, before the largest military landing on the Pacific front by the Allies, mainly Americans. This was also the battle with the highest casualties in the Pacific War. The Japanese side lost a total of 106,000 troops on the island, with over 77,000 killed in action, while the Allies, mainly American soldiers, suffered over 75,000 casualties, with over 20,000 killed in action. Immediately after Tokyo Command received information sent from Maizuru Naval Base, stating that the Allies were preparing a plan to massively attack Japan. Therefore, instead of attacking the Panama Canal, the campaign was changed to destroy the Ulithi Atoll area in the Western Pacific, a staging base with 15 American aircraft carriers being concentrated preparing for a massive airstrike to send aircraft to attack Japan's mainland. The Japanese plan was to use 4 aircraft carrier submarines, I-13, I-14, I-400, and I-401 in coordinated operations. These carrier submarines were expected to arrive at a secret rendezvous point on the night of August 14th or morning of August 15th, 1945. Then on August 17th, these super submarines would make the US Navy taste suffering. They would launch 6 M6A1 Saran before dawn and suddenly attack in kamikaze suicide style. Each M6A1 Saran carrying over 800 kilograms of bombs would fly no higher than 50 meters above sea level to avoid radar, as well as American fighter jets patrolling at 4,000 meters altitude that could detect them. Before leaving Maizuru Naval Base, the Saran Suicide Aircraft Squadron was also painted with American insignia. After the attack, I-400 and I-401 would go to Hong Kong to add 6 more Saran to launch a second wave of attacks. However, bad luck continued to pursue the Japanese. On July 11, 1945, while en route to Truk Island, submarine I-13 was discovered and sunk by the US Navy. And the Sen Toku submarine monster and Saran bomber didn't get a chance to show their strength. The fateful day of August 17th for Operation Ulysses hadn't even occurred when 11 days earlier, on August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was leveled by an atomic bomb called Little Boy. 3 days after the Americans dropped their Little Boy on Hiroshima, it was Nagasaki's turn to share the same fate with the atomic bomb called Fat Man. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced surrender. Tokyo Command requested cancellation of Operation Ulysses, truly World War II in general, and the Pacific in particular. Who knows what would have happened if the Sen Toku monsters had managed to attack the 15 American aircraft carriers at Ulysses. On August 22, 1945, crews on the submarines were ordered to destroy their weapons. Torpedoes were fired without targets. Aircraft were launched into the sea. The third super aircraft carrier submarine, I-402, was completed when the war was nearly over. It had been renamed and repurposed as an oil tanker and had never been equipped with aircraft. When the Japanese submarines were ordered to surrender to US destroyers, some officers and crew committed suicide to maintain their honor. The US Navy captured 24 submarines, including those in the I-400 class. The Americans were truly stunned when they witnessed the 2 Sen Toku monsters with their own eyes. They were not only enormous, but also very modern compared to military technology of that time. Even thinking about it could be considered crazy. The Americans at that time thought that something so large could only be a cargo ship. Even many years later, no navy had been able to build such a massive submarine. The Soviet Union, one of the countries in the Allied camp, immediately showed interest and requested the US to allow access. But unfortunately for the Soviet Union, in June 1946, the US Navy accidentally damaged it and unfortunately dropped it into the sea at a location they also conveniently forgot where it was. Finally, it wasn't until March 2005 that the wreck of I-401 was found at a depth of 820 meters. And I-400 was discovered in August 2013 at a depth of about 700 meters off the coast of Hawaii. After analysis, it was believed that the 2 submarines had been sunk by torpedoes from American submarine number SS-425 on June 4, 1946, in a practice exercise style at sea. This was truly a sad ending for the giant monsters once dubbed as the masters beneath the ocean depths.